Love.
Join us for the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, where we discuss matters close to the heart. This and every Saturday at 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on HGG Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, alongside your co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopeton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir. The Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. We're not just talk, we're informative. Good morning, and welcome to the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast right here on HGG Radio. Of course, we're coming to you live inside your home, inside the car, inside the studio. And we are so delighted that you choose to join us this morning for yet another thought-provoking discussion. We want to thank those who have joined us from Saturdays to Saturdays, those who have joined us each Saturday morning and has allowed the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast to be a part of your daily routine. Of course, we want to thank you so very much for being here with us and for staying with us every Saturday morning. We have another one lined up for you. Very, very interesting topic that we are dealing with here this morning. As you know, we bring it to you each and every Saturday morning. Of course, we want to talk about this morning here on the Arm Empowerment Podcast. We want to explore the essential steps to securing your legacy and your peace of mind. I'm your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, along with our co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir. I just want to apologize for Bishop Morrison this morning as he's absent away from us this morning, but we do want to thank him and we are so grateful, of course, for his continued service here on the Admin Empowerment Podcast. Today, we want to tackle a crucial aspect of adulting, and this is known as will, estate, and planning. Join us this morning as we delve into the world of estate planning, where we'll demystify the process, debunk common myth, and empower you with the knowledge to take control. Yes, to take control of your asset, to protect your loved ones, and ensure that your wishes are respected. In today's episode, we are joined by Chuksa Raka, seasoned paralegal and expertise in estate planning from Abrams Law Professional Corp in Ontario, Canada. And together we'll explore the ins and outs of wills, probate, trust, and more. So let's get started on this important journey, and as we discuss and discover how to safeguard your legacy and create a lasting impact. Good morning to my very esteemed co-host. Good morning, Pastor Clive. Good morning, Elder Muir. How are we doing today, sir?
Bless you, bless you. I'm doing good, doing good.
Awesome. Elder Muir, let's hear you so we know you are clicking.
Amen. Amen. Glory to God. I am doing well this morning. I'm doing
Awesome,
well. How about you on your
awesome.
side, Dr. Bryan?
I am doing well, giving God praise. All is well so far, so good. You know, we're giving the Lord praise. Another day that the Lord has been great. The Lord has been good to us, and we are indeed grateful, sir.
Amen.
Grateful. Let me say good morning to all our listeners who are joining us early here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. Lord, I'm sure maybe some of our listeners are wondering how comes we haven't send a link and so forth. But listeners, I'm so sorry. We are live. Jacqueline Brown, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to my aunt, Mahela Emmings, who are always here with us here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. We said good morning and thank you. Emerin Smith in Antigua. Good morning to you, Lady Smith. Thank you so much for joining us. And we said also to Elaine Taylor, who is joining us live as well. Irene Vassal, we say good morning. And thank you so much for always being with us here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. Yeah, we thank you so much. Those who are coming to us live from the UK, from here in Canada, from Jamaica, and all over the world, Florida, Atlanta. These are folks who tune in every Saturday morning. We want to thank you so much for joining us and for staying with us each and every week. Good morning to you also, Daphne Brown. Good morning. Yes, they're coming in, my sister-in-law. She's saying that they're experiencing some poor weather there in Florida. So we want to encourage our listeners in Florida just to stay safe. All right, stay safe and stay warm down there. Good morning, Daphne. Good morning, Ione Vaso. Good morning to you, my sister-in-law. Pastor Clive, I know that we have the upcoming conference. Can you just take a minute and plug that for me? Convocation happening in Edmonton. Can you plug the upcoming convocation?
Yes, sir. Let me see if I can find something.
Yes, we want to talk about the convocation that is coming.
Yes, so our upcoming convocation is coming up on July 5th through to 7th. And of course, our speakers are Elder Bonito Grange and also Elder Nicholas Chambers. For the first time in a long time, we're going to be having a night service right here at Higher Ground, which is the address is 3601 Avenue, Edmonton, Alberta. Looking forward. And for this year is that far we have not passed this way before.
Before. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And of course, we are believing God for a great time in Convocation 2024. So we're believing the Lord for a great time. All right, well, let's jump in it and get started. As our special guest this morning only have about an hour with us, and so of course we want to take as much as we can, and so that we can, go through all these questions, which we believe would be very, very important to our listeners, that would be very helpful. And so, of course, we want to use that time wisely. So, let me also say very, very big thanks again to our special guest this morning. Our special guest, Pastor Clive, is a paralegal. He's a seasoned paralegal with expertise in estate planning from Abraham's Law Professional. And so we want to thank him so much, Law Professional Corporation here in Ontario. And we want to thank him so, so very much for joining us. He's my friend. And also, he is the one, his law firm is a firm that handled all of my legal matters. And so, of course, I am so, so happy that he's able to join us and Man Empowerment Podcast for the very first time. Please welcome to the show, Chooks Oraka. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good
Good
morning.
morning to you, Chooks. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me. Good morning,
Oh,
everybody. Pleased to be here today.
Morning, morning, morning.
Good
So how are
morning.
you doing?
Morning.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Awesome. Doing well, doing well, doing well.
doing well. Awesome, awesome.
Thank
We're
you.
so delighted that you're able to join us, Chooks, here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. I'm sure you have a wealth of knowledge and information and expertise, and we want to pick from that. We want to get some information from you that we believe would be really, really helpful to the masses. And so, of course, we are so, so grateful that you're able to join us this morning. And we just want to kickstart it, and we want to talk as I want to speak very broadly on real estate and planning. Of course, once we mention real estate and planning, just talk to me at the top. What is will? What is planning? What is estate? The importance, just at the top of it, before we dive into it, Chucks. Wills, planning, estate.
hmm
First thing that come to mind at the top.
Yes. Well, thank you for that question. So, estate planning involves a lot of things. Most people think it's just about doing your wills, but it's more of a larger umbrella, right? Which has to deal with you putting your your affairs in order. Make sure you set up your assets in a protective manner, right? In order to make sure you safeguard it for the future, right? So essentially, will estate planning, will is part of it. Will is on it comes under it is a part of estate planning. So when we talk about estate planning, yes, will comes into that is a process, is a part of it, and helps you to make sure that you set up your financial and estate in a manner that you would rather it be rather than someone else making that decision for you.
Mm, very, very important. What are the importance you'll say then of having a will, and what happen if someone dies without one?
Well, there's a lot of importance of having a will, but mostly, there's what I usually say to my client is the will speaks for you after you're gone, right?
Mm,
So, you have that will to speak for you from the grave. It essentially tells everyone who's still alive what your decisions are, what your intentions are, you know, in order to make sure that they are being kept and met while you're gone. So it is important to have those wishes. And if you don't have your will and you go, then what happens is what ends up happening is now the estate law, the intestate law sets in. Now your assets will now be divided based on legislation as opposed to what you actually wanted it to happen if you had that opportunity or if you had that made that little bit more effort to put it in writing as to what you wanted to to be.
mm. Thank you, Chuck. So you're saying, so if we don't make the decision, it's somewhat that the law will step in here in terms of divvying and putting things together, maybe based on how many family members are there, or the fight maybe that is happening from family who want what, who think they are supposed to get this. Is that what we're talking when we use that term legislation?
Correct, correct. Because there is a law called intestacy law, right? And this law stipulates that if you're no longer there, right, and there's no existing will that that states exactly what you want. That law now has its own special rules as to how your estate and your affairs will be treated. And also, it also takes away from you if you wanted a specific individual to be a trustee. Now this decision is also taken from you as well, because now the court is the one that appoints who the estate trustee and administrator will be.
Mm.
Based on that law. Yes.
Based on that law. Thank you so much. Elamir, I'm coming to you. You have a question for Chuck.
Yeah, morning, and welcome to the Ironman Empowerment Show, sir, and morning to all our wonderful listeners. I am here thinking that, I mean, having something to speak for you after you have passed, is it that we're overthinking, or how important is this? Can I then say, what advice do you have for someone who is putting off estate planning due to uncomfortable feelings or lack of knowledge?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, anyone who's putting off that, that basic step to ensure that they put their will in place runs the risk of having, for lack of better word, people those who want to reap where they didn't sow come into the picture. Vultures, if you may call them that, right? Because now it's free for all. You have a family who haven't spoken to each other for more than 20 years. Now, because you didn't make a will, right, to put in place how you want your asset divided. Now, this person you haven't spoken to more than 20 years is coming to fight your wife and your kids, for something that they never even, you know, they're not qualified, or they're not entitled to. So it's important that we understand that this is not just about your assets too. You also have to protect the children. If you have dependents, if you have the little children who are minors, they need to be catered for. You have to make provision for guardianship for these children, on who takes over responsibility as a parent if they are gone. You may even open your mouth, in people's misconception. They say, oh, we have joint assets. I have joint asset with my spouse. Well, guess what? You and your spouse might die at the same time. What happens afterwards? You know what I mean? You may have your spouse jointly owned assets, but once both of you, if you both of you die at the same time, then I'm sorry, intestacy law comes into play. You know, there's a lot of benefits that most people overlook. Some people think, oh, I'm too young. Why am I making a will? Well, guess what? Death doesn't know, young or old. You too. Little kids dying nowadays, from what we see around the world. You can see a healthy man today drops dead. We don't own our lives. We understand that when we walk in this life, we walk with faith. We understand, yes, you know, uh, my God is there to protect me, but at the same time, we also have to be ready at any point in time to go. And that making your will is part of being ready, in my opinion. Putting all your affairs in order is part of being ready.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I agree totally with everything that you have said. But how do you compare a person that calls his or her family together and say, listen, the goat is yours, the cow is yours, the car is yours, and there's a mutual understanding? How do you compare this with the will? Is it essential? What are the downfalls, the pitfalls to doing so? What your explanation just now allowed me to pull some, but for the listeners, go ahead and expound for us.
I think I may understand a little bit of what like in where you're coming from, but if I derail a little bit or if you think I haven't answered your question, just let me know. But how the difference between both scenarios is, okay, if I tell John, who is my distant relative, oh John, if I die, this car belongs to you, and I'm fully married, and I didn't put this down in writing in their will. Well, if I'm gone and there's nothing put down to say that John is supposed to get this, my wife can decide to change her mind the next, when I'm gone and say, "Oh, John, you're not getting this. I have kids to feed. I'm going to sell this car to feed my children." Okay. So that is the difference between, yeah, I'm calling my relative to put it out. Once it's put down, then again, like I said in the beginning, it's your voice from the grave. Now everybody is forced to listen to it, whether or not, they want to hear it.
Mhm.
Unlike if if there was nothing written at all, anyone, any of family members who have right to your estate can come and say whatever they want to say. It's gonna be he said, she said, oh, he made promises. Well, there are more people who in the hierarchy of the beneficial list who gets more preference than the other ones.
Right, and
Thank you very
that make
much.
a lot of sense. That make a lot of sense, of course, because thank you, Ella Muir, because as you mentioned, it's the voice from the grave, and this is what you're saying. Because we have been in situation where, and I know in particular in Ontario here, Chucks, and this is one for our listeners. This is one case that he had assisted me with, because when one of our good friend, like a sister to me, had passed away, and I assist in the whole managing of her financials and everything. It's a good thing I knew all of this prior to she dying. I knew where she bank, I know all her stuff so good that I actually work at the same bank and everything, because there wasn't a will in play. And even though it was just her husband, she has a son. He was about just 2 3 years old. The vehicle was in her name. She had a vehicle in her name. Some of the accounts were joined, some weren't, because her husband is the type of man who just work and said, "Baby, you take care of everything." And so when she died, I didn't know it would have been so difficult, because I'm thinking she's married, she just have one child, is a baby. Everything just should go to her husband automatically. And it wasn't so. It wasn't so. They were asking us for letters from an attorney. They were asking us for stuff to say there's no beneficiary, it's just him. And I mean, just to change out a vehicle in her name, I remember, calling Chuck's here and saying, I need to come by, I need your help on this. And at that particular time, it's letters for everyone, like in terms of no one place wanted a general letter to whom it may concern. If you remember, so we came to, is like everybody's want a letter specifically to us, and that can become very very complicated, even just to change the vehicle over into her husband's name. And so they were saying to us everywhere was just saying, there's not a will in play, do you have a will? It's like almost the first question, was there a will, was there a will? And so we understand that, as he mentioned, that can be very very difficult, challenging, and can get expensive too, because just imagine you having to pay for all these different letters, and each time something from the lawyer. And so this can really stack up. So that's very very important. Pastor Clyde, I'll come to you with your question, sir.
All right. My question is um can you walk us through the steps involved of prebating a will? I think he has issue with his with his
Connection.
connection.
Yes. Are you there, Chucks? You're there with us, Chucks? Yes. Great. He's back. Chucks, are you there? I think you're muted there. I think we're just having some technical challenges. And of course,
All
he
right,
will.
we can just
Yes.
wait until he come back in. Dr. Lincoln Bryan, what I want to
Yes.
say is before he comes back on, is that as a nation, as a people, I think a lot of time we shy away from talking about these things and not knowing the impact that this thing play on us as individuals. And if you're talking about some topics, persons are really want to chime in and want to be a part of it. But when it comes on to these things, person may look at it and says, what am I leaving, or what am I leaving? What do I have? What you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have $1 million in the bank. You don't have to. But it's just important for you to put in structure. Like even if it's even if it's just a furniture, whatever it is, so that persons can know. What your thought process, especially if you have children, because I'm telling you, I see people fight over clothes. You know what I mean? Like, hey, dad died or mom died, and clothes start to go here and there, and I need it for this, I need it for that. It's just important for us to understand that when we talk about these things, it's just not. It's not just so that we can, but we want to edify the body of Christ. I will not call
Absolutely.
you out. We want to call you up as you.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you,
So my
Chooks. I see that he's back with us.
yeah. So my
Yes,
question
go ahead,
to him,
Pastor John.
my question to you, sir,
Yeah,
is
sorry about that.
No problem. That's all right.
no problem, no problem. We understand. Can you walk us through the steps involving probating a will?
The steps. Okay. Uh, so it's the steps involved. I guess it depends on the jurisdiction. It depends on where you're located. Right here, we're in Ontario, so when it comes to probating a will, it's normally it's a very cumbersome process. But essentially, we get the clients in and collect as much information as we have in order to file for a certificate of appointment from the court. Now, this certificate of appointment is what the court uses as exchange for the will. They take the will back, right, and issue this certificate of appointment, which allows the estate trustee or executor to administer the estate of the deceased. Now, this includes obviously if there's a business that needs to be wound down, if there's a CRA dealings that needs to, because you have to file the final taxes for the deceased person and 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 close out their account and whatnot. But that's part of the process, but it is a long process that involves all these things happening, for which the court has an important role in this probate process. Before it used to be called probate in Ontario, but it's no longer called that. It's called certificate of appointment. That's what we use as the legal word, legal terminology for it now in Ontario. And once this process starts, I mean, nobody, you're not expected, or you're not required to release any of the assets. I mean, you have a copy of the will, you see the will, and you know what is in there. But at that point, until the court issues you this certificate of appointment as a trustee, you are expected to hold everything in trust for the beneficiaries until you receive this before you can release anything. So the will might give a specific item to John. Well, you can't give John that item until the court issues your certificate of appointment before you can do that. It's a common misconception that, oh, well, I don't really know what they, but people do that, they get away with it. But when it becomes an issue, and there's a litigious situation that has to deal with everybody going to court, that's when you find yourself as an estate trustee in the jam, because you are not supposed to release any of those items to the beneficiaries until you hear back from the court. And the reason mainly because maybe the disease gave an item to somebody. Well, guess what? Another person, might decide to be amazed. Oh, I didn't think they were close to John to have given John this item. Therefore, I have to. I'm going to go to court and challenge this will. It might be fruitless, but the court gives everybody that opportunity, gives at least 30 days for people who want to challenge the will to come up and challenge that. So you,
Mm,
as an estate trustee, knowing fully well that this is your job, you can't just go and start giving things out, because if things are challenged and then you have prematurely given out items that's being contested, you find yourself in a bind because now you're responsible to the estate beneficiaries for any loss that is going to be occurred based on your negligent behavior.
Can you talk about the back, like a back and forth, and how lawyer fee get you know expensive, especially if something like this is happening and there's no proper no proper direction or no will, and you have to hire lawyers and stuff like that. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
So again, like I said, the estate process, probate process is a very cumbersome process. So you're very much in a better position as a trustee to hire a lawyer, okay, to do this. And I can't speak for any law, all the lawyers because every law firm is different based on the practice. Some charge, like a set fee, uh, regarding their job. So they call it a flat rate, right, to do their job. Others charge and bill you per hour, right? So based on the type of lawyer that you retain, that will determine how much your expenses would accrue. But generally, as a rule of thumb, if you have a simple estate, if the disease has a simple estate that needs to be administered or probated, legal fees could range anywhere between 2,500 to 1,300, plus your disbursement and the tax on it, right? But then if you have a complicated estate that requires a lot of job, dealing with beneficiaries and whatnot, then the lawyer's fees are gonna be pretty much reflected or based on the amount of work that they have to do. Now, if you have obviously now if you have a contested estate, whereby like a beneficiary decides to go rogue and go to court for something that they know that they weren't entitled to, obviously, then the lawyer's fee would also have to change to reflect, if they have to appear in court to obviously defend the estates and whatnot, it's gonna be reflected in that amount. Okay, there's really no set fee for Esther, but yes, it can be, high or low, depending on the scenario you find yourself. Lawyers' fees are not supposed to be cheap, as you all know it. So it's we don't do cheap. Sorry, if you're looking for cheap, you're rather going somewhere else or doing it yourself, and maybe spend at least 1 year trying to probate a simple will when the lawyer would have done it in 1 month or 2 months, depending on the jurisdiction. Okay, so it's a matter of choice. So you can choose if you want.
Yes, I mean, thank you so much. That is very important. One of our co-hosts, who is not on today with us, Bishop Upton Mars. Thank you so much for joining, Bishop. Bishop, he has a question. He said, "What if you, for example, a life insurance and a beneficiary is in your children and wife? It's for your children and your wife, and you die without a will." So your life insurance and the beneficiary is your children and wife. You have a life insurance in play, the life insurance for the children and wife, yet you die without a will. Will there be an issue for the beneficiaries to get the paid out or payout?
Okay. Okay, thank you for your question. Thank you so much for your question. Now, I always want to remind everybody when I'm talking that this is not legal advice. Okay, this is more like legal information. There's no
Mhm.
lawyer paralegal client relationship, but this is an interesting question that he has asked, and things like life insurance, things like RSPs and stuff that have noted beneficiary designation given inside a policy with the insurance company, they fall outside the will, which means you don't need the will for that. um,
Okay.
the insurance company normally pay all those kind of funds out without the requirement for probate or even the existence of a will. That is why whenever we get all this information from clients and find out what is what, we make them know this as well, that they don't have like they need to make sure, because some of them assume, oh yeah, my wife is the beneficiary, but at the end of the day they call it after we instruct them to call the insurance company to confirm, that is when they find out that no one was even written down as a beneficiary. Many
Wow.
people make that mistake. I don't know why they forget. I don't know whether it's just, because you think it's just about making that life insurance policy. Some people do. I understand some people also set up their insurance policy maybe when they were young and unmarried. So they forget to update it afterwards, right?
Wow.
So, but yeah, this is the reason why we remind them and tell them at the time, of preparing the will to let them know if you haven't already talked to your insurance company, because it's also a good thing to because you save on estate taxes if you have a named beneficiary. Because once it falls outside the will, then during the probate process, we don't need to include that as part of your assets to calculate the estate taxes, right? So you also save on your taxes by making sure that the named beneficiary is confirmed. And you also need to have alternate too. Don't just put, oh, my wife, and my kids. Make provision for subsequent people, because unfortunately, this life we don't have control of it. You can be going on vacation with all those beneficiaries inside one airplane, and everyone is gone, right? So you have to think far and understand. That's why you consult with the lawyer, and they give you all this information and help you. Because when you also start making the estate planning process, you sit down with the financial advisor, because this is really their job. Some of them are very knowledgeable. You get a knowledgeable one, and they give you all this information so that you can plan accordingly.
Thank you so
I
much for
hope I've
that
answered
question.
your question.
Yes, you are answering our questions and providing some information that is quite even, so enlightening for us. Not even understanding, because I think a lot of time, especially for those in North America, we don't look at the tax component of it all.
Mhm.
And so for those, for Pastor Upton Mars, he's saying once you have that in play in terms of insurance, that deals with itself there outside of the will, beneficiary will get from their beneficiary insurance. But it's also good to somewhat put that in play in your will, who is getting what, so it's easier for everything to settle. So thank you so much for that question. I want to come to you again, Chucks, because I want to ask, you mentioned that sometimes persons put it in play earlier and not update it. How often would you say that someone should, update their will or review their will and their estate plan, put their things in play? How often should, kind of review it to make sure this is what you still want or what is in play? How often
Mhm.
would you say?
I would say by the rule of thumb is, update your will every 5 years, or depending on the stage in life you find yourself, right?
Mhm.
You may have made your will when you were married. Now you have a wife or a spouse, okay? You need to update it to reflect it. If when you initially made your will and the kids were little, well, as they grow up, you also have to remember, that you have to update it to reflect the situation. Or if maybe one of your ex or a couple of your executors die too as well, right? So depending on the stage in life that you find yourself, right, you have to amend accordingly. But the rule of thumb is usually every 5 years, I think. Every 5 years. Some people say three, but I think three is too short,
Too short,
just
right?
yeah, yeah, unless something very, substantial happens in your life. I think as a rule of thumb, every 5 years should be fine.
Every 5 years. Thank you so much, Chooks. We are coming up on a break. And of course, once we come back, we will continue our conversation. We're talking to Chooks Araka, paralegal, and we are speaking about wills and estate and planning very broadly. We're just having conversations about the importance of putting these in play. So, of course, should you pass, of course, he mentioned that your will is your voice speaking from the grave. So today we want to make sure that you are putting these plan in place or even start the conversation of having these plan, of course, in place. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Chuck. So stay right here with us on the HGG Radio and Man Empowerment Podcast. We'll be right back.
GG Radio. Are you ready to amplify your message and reach hearts with purpose?
Introducing HGG Advertising, your partner in spreading the gospel and connecting with the Christian community.
Churches, Christian-based businesses, listen up.
With HGG Advertising, you can reach your audience through powerful radio campaigns.
Engage hearts, inspire minds, and grow your community with HGG Radio, which is already reaching 136 countries worldwide.
We specialize in promoting Christian values and helping businesses aligned with faith-based principles.
Whether it's a church event or your business rooted in Christian values, HGG Advertising is here for you.
Connect with us and let's share your message with purpose.
HGG Advertising, spreading the gospel, connecting communities. Email us today at ads@hggradio.ca. That's ads@hggradio.ca. Or call us today at 825-343-4486.
In the name of Jesus.
Join me, Elder Edmund Muir, and the Higher Ground Tabernacle family as we team up with prayer warriors from all around the globe to break down walls of oppression and bring victory to your situation. Join us in Higher in Prayer on HGG Radio. This and every Monday night, 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. Send us your prayer requests or testimonies to our WhatsApp number 825-343-4486. That's 825-343-4486. In Higher in Prayer until you feel the Holy Ghost fire. See you then.
Oh, there is power in the name of Jesus.
Radio.
Calling all believers, are you continuing steadfastly in the Apostles' Doctrine? Join us right here on HGG Radio, Mondays to Fridays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. MST and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. EST for a new and exciting Bible discussion program, The Apostles' Doctrine. Come and hear the word being rightly divided by dynamic preachers and teachers. It's The Apostles' Doctrine, hosted by Minister Tyrone Reed, weekdays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. MST. Come for the fellowship, stay for cerebral conversations and all things scriptural.
Will get better by the grace of God. Your weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning flow.
Now your greater is coming.
Mondays to Fridays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. MST. With me, your host, Odette Thompson, right here on HGG Radio. Much power in your name. I wish above all things that you prosper and be in good health as your soul prospers. We believe for it. God, we believe.
And bakery. Get your oxtail, curry goat, jerk chicken, rice and peas, ackee and sausage.
Radio.
You know, when I first came to Canada 20-something years ago, all I want was Jamaican food, Jamaican food, Jamaican food.
Looking for a Jamaican restaurant in Edmonton? A Yamida Jamaican restaurant and bakery. Get your oxtail, curry goat, jerk chicken, rice and peas, ackee and saltfish, fried dumplings, patties, and so much more. A Yamida Jamaican restaurant and bakery. Opening hours Mondays to Thursdays 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them today at 4435 118 Avenue or call 780-479-1900.
Thank you for staying with us here on the HGG Radio's Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. We are talking with Chuck Saraka, paralegal at Abraham's Law Professional. We are talking about will and estate and planning. Of course, he's giving us some information, an informative session about the importance of putting these plans in play. Thank you so much for staying with us, Chucks. So I'm going to go to Elder Muir, who have a question for you. Elder Muir?
Thank you again, Dr. Bryan. Chucks, I noticed you laughed when you spoke about the money lawyers do take a lot of money, right? I, I just want to make note of that. But my question is a little different,
Yes,
right?
but by the way, Elamir, he said if you want cheap, then you can represent yourself and take an
Right.
next year to
Mhm.
figure it out. So the decision is yours.
Exactly.
True,
You're so
true.
right. Now, now, we're here in Canada, but we have audience from all over the world. Uh, is there a difference between uh, the laws as it relates to how we go about putting a will together? And I could ask you in terms of the different laws in the provinces. How does that
Mhm.
affect estate planning? Did you get that? The laws, the different laws in the
Uh,
provinces, and yeah, how does that affect estate planning?
uh, so
I think he's just having a little bit of connectivity issue. We do apologize as he's having, I think, some technical trouble there. Chuck, can you confirm if you're with us, sir? There? Yes, I think he's having some connectivity issue. So, of
What
course,
what
once he's back,
what
we'll
what
continue with
Brian
it.
getting reconnected, Elder,
Yes.
Dr. Bryan, is that what keep playing in my mind is that as Christians, the Bible says that a good man leave an inheritance for his
Mm-hmm.
children,
Children.
children. That means you are setting up, and then oftentimes, when we look in our lives and we see that our parents or grandparents, they didn't have the resources to leave anything with us.
Right.
We would have said that, boy, we did not born with gold spoon in our mouth, and so forth and so on. But we have to learn. We have to start to think of how can I break the cycle, and of course
Yes.
we can talk about that. Here's Chuck.
Yes.
Let's
We'll talk about it a
okay.
little later, of course, in our debrief.
Yeah.
We'll yes. So Elamior, we'll put you back in place, sir. Chooks is back. Thank you, of course, for staying with us here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. Elamior.
Oh, thank you. Yes, sir. My question is, how does the laws in the different provinces affect estate planning, or is it the same all over Canada or in the world? Sorry, I'm not sure you get that. Are you hearing
Chooks,
me,
are you
Chuck?
hearing us? Chooks, are you able to hear us, sir?
He's having
Yes, he's having some technical challenges. Chooks, can you confirm if you're able to hear us?
No, he's having.
Yes.
yeah,
Uh,
he's not here.
all right, Doc. You want to just make a call and then yeah.
Yes, so we're just allowing him to come in. I'm just chiming in. I see his screen is moving. Chooks, can you just confirm? Yeah, I'm in touch. Can you confirm that you're able to hear us, sir? Yeah, seemingly his audio is not connecting. Anything from us?
Oh, he can't hear anything.
Oh, he can't hear us. All right.
So back to what I was saying, though, Dr. Bryan, is that it 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 is so important for us as people,
Yes.
for us to know that how important it is for us to break the cycle, the generational cycle of just don't have anything to leave with our children. I think that the Lord has given us the wisdom. The Bible said that He giveth wisdom to create wealth, and whatever God has given to you, you have to break that cycle, that poverty cycle, that cycle of don't never have, that cycle of always borrowing, and because the Bible talks about the borrower is always a slave to the lender, and I run across some folks, that the way how they think. I think we as a nation of people or black people, we don't think the way how they think, and I say that you know with a little bit of when they look at some other persons, they come together and put their resources together so that they can create their wealth to leave to their children. Chuck is back. Let's see if he
Yes,
is.
we'll continue talking, right?
Yeah, okay, so it all important. You know what I mean. So I want the listeners to know that it is very important for us to break that cycle and to help our generation to come. And this is like creating that wealth. Do investment, do small things. It doesn't take big. When my kids were younger, I would have invested money for their college education. I feel so proud that my oldest daughter finished her college. She's actually come to visit me on yesterday, right? But I'm putting money aside, and it wasn't a lot of money. It was only $300 for four of them. But the money what I was putting away, it is for their future, and I did that for over 20 odd years. So now when there's time for them to go to college, it helped them out tremendously. So even with that, what I'm trying to say is that for us as a nation, as a people, it is important for us to know that as much as you're doing, you're trying to take care of things, trying to take care of your family, it is good that you also put it in writing. And that's why we are here on this platform this morning talking about the security of the future after you're gone, after you're dead, after this life. So, anyways, we can talk about that when we come back. There's so much more to talk about while you're here.
Yes. We're
It-
just facing some connectivity issue, and so once Chooks is back with us, of course, we'll continue the conversation. But one other thing, Rev, it's very important, and especially for persons who have, we'll say, two, because there are men with two different families in terms of you were married before, or your spouse had passed, and you had a family here, and then you now have a new family, and
yeah,
so forth. It's very,
yeah,
very important to have these will in play, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a power struggle. There are going to be issues and concern with the two sets of family and who should get what and who wanted what,
yeah,
based on the fact that they're saying, we are the oldest set of children, and we are his first set of children, and this is the first. Or peradventure, there is no children in play with now that you're now married again. Um, the spouse may have
it,
passed,
it,
and
it,
now so it creates a whole lot of mess. And so we're saying it is very, very important to put these in play, put your will in play, because as simple as how it seems, and I have first-hand experience with this, planning my friend funeral and doing all our legal work, and I thank God for Chooks and the Abraham Law Professional, who really, really helped me out in that time, because I just think it's so simple, because she don't have any, it's just her husband and her one child, and perfect. And so it creates problem, and you would just never imagine it, just to change the car in his name, and we're showing them she has passed, here's the death certificate and all of that, and we're thinking with the death certificate and stuff, we'll
yeah,
just, they said, okay, she's really gone for real, we have the death certificate, let's move forward. No, we need a letter from an attorney office or something confirming this and all of that stuff. It
yeah,
was just a
yeah.
whole lot of mess simply because of will. And I think so Chooks, you're back with us. Can you confirm you're able to hear us?
Yes, I'm back. Can hear you
Perfect. Thank
now.
you so much. Thank you so much. I was having some connectivity issue. Elder Muir had a question for you, and I'll bring back Elder Muir with this question. Elder Muir.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy you're hearing us now. Very happy. I want to know if the different laws in the provinces affect estate planning. And because we have listeners from all over the world, how does this affect their estate planning as well? Is it the same across the board? Or are there differences? You're
So
mute.
yes. So we're not able to hear your sound, Chooks. Can you unmute and try? Yes, unmute. Yes, go ahead. Can you hear us? I think he's having some trouble again. We do want to apologize to our listeners there. I think we're having some connectivity issue there. So we, of course, we want to apologize on his behalf regarding his audio coming through.
So, Dr. Brown, you were saying earlier
Yes.
that a person would have got married and so forth. I find myself in that situation when my first set of children, I had a son, and then I had three more girls, and then when it was time for me to be remarried and with my little ones that come in. The first of my kids, they had a concern. They're like, "Dad, what's going to happen to the will?" Because I let them know that I had a will, right? They all know what was happening. So they know. So and they were not happy. They were like, "Oh, we are gonna have to share everything. We're gonna share how much more." Then they sit me down they were big enough kids. So as they were, they're like, "How many kids you're gonna have? How many more kids you're gonna have?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "As much as the
They,
Lord
they
wants."
want to make they want to see how the money is going to go. So it means then that pastor will just have to work a little harder to make sure everybody
It
to make
was
sure
it was
everybody is happy.
so some person may not say it, but it still affect them. And children children of today is different than the children of yesterday. Yesterday, children, which is us, we didn't care about if mommy and daddy leave anything for us. We are there to fight for ourselves and to make do. Children of today, because of society, especially where you are, Elder Muir is asking the question based on where you are geographically in whatever province, states, or whatever, if it make a difference. But we didn't look at children of today because of where you are, and you see how the culture of the people are. This is what the Caucasian persons does, right? Or other people do. So it's just natural for your children now to start to look at it and says, "Daddy, what's going on? Like if you pass, what happened? What is there for me?" You know what I mean? What is there in there for me? What am I gonna get? And are they wrong to ask those questions? No, because a lot of times when persons died, they leave a lot of stress on the family, they leave a lot of headache on the family, and it's important for us to put things in writing, put things where people can know your plans, your thoughts, what's happening in your life. Again, it doesn't have to be $1 million. It could be
Yes.
just your clothes. It could be your house. It could be your
And
phone.
that's one other thing. And that's one other thing where we have to demystify is the fact that a lot of people think that in order to have a will, is that I have to have a certain amount of money. I have to be rich. Like I have to have a lot of money in place or a lot of asset. And if I don't own, a house and maybe three, four, five, and a lot of the stuff, then no, they're saying I don't think I need to have a will in play because I don't really own, anything big. And I don't think that's necessarily true. And
No,
I think especially in our black community where we easily are and more privy to that notion to say, will is for rich people. And it's not. Really, will is for everybody that's alive. You start work and you have something in place, you put a will in place. Even to say this person is in charge of my funeral planning and arrangement after I'm gone. And so we think it is very, very important to,
can we look at let's look at the Lord Jesus Christ, right?
Mhm.
I believe it's in Hebrew, where in Hebrew it says, talk about the death of a testator. As long as the testator liveth, right? The will.
You're going biblical now and Rev.
It's just as simple as that. Jesus leave a will. What is his will? The will, the plan of salvation. So he
Mhm.
did not leave it so that you don't know what's happening. He put things in place as Jehovah God to us. And I want you to understand that the Bible is there for our learning and for our example. And if Jesus
Mhm.
Christ can do that and put a will in place for you to know the will that he has for you, it is important that you and I, who are following in the footstep of Jesus Christ, must put a will in place so that those who are coming, like like for instance, we have in a church, we bought a new building. In my mind, I need to put in place. Everybody know that LMU is the assistant pastor, but as we progress, we have
Yes.
to put things, get lawyers and get things,
Put proper things in place, proper structure.
proper structure,
Yeah, so he has the right to make
institutions.
certain decision from a legal perspective.
So, so, so,
Yes,
so, what am I saying? I'm saying to us as people of God is that don't live your life loosely. And
yes,
I say that carefully in so many ways. Don't leave. I'm not saying you're careless. No, I'm just saying don't live your life. Don't leave things unturned. You've got to tighten up things. And there are times these things, people don't like talk about money because they say they don't have it. They don't like deal with stuff, additional stress. But you're not dealing with your additional stress causes other issues where other people will come in and have other stresses. And then you're wondering, you know what I mean? Like you're wondering to yourself, when person dies, you're like, oh my God, this is a mess. You know what I mean? So we want to eliminate all of that stress by
yes,
doing.
and putting these things in play.
And what we see the Lord Jesus did, he put a will in place.
In place. Elamir, chime in on this, sir.
That is so very important, extremely important for us as individuals to note. There is a passage that keeps ringing in my head that it says, how do you know that the person that you leave your whatever you leave to is a fool? That is something that you will have an idea of before you go. You will see who the persons are around you. If this person is astute, if this person is slothful, you can know, so you know what to leave. But if you don't leave and put things in order, the other verse that you hear, set your house in order.
Mhm.
You have to set your house in order before you go, because if you don't, there's going to be chaos. And many times what I've seen over the years, there are many persons, they develop some real hard bitterness on the inside because of what transpires after their father, their mother, or whomever is gone. And so to alleviate all this, I believe that things must be put in place. And that is why it's important for a will to be written. It's simple. It's not a big take. It's not a brain science sort of thing, just to avoid
Fight will happen.
breaking of relationships, emotional scars, and things taking a wrong turn after you have deceased. It's very important to put things in place and don't take it for granted. I must say, many times, Pastor, persons say, oh, we have good people around us, nothing will happen, loving people. But then the Bible says that money answered all, right? And then it also says that
All things,
the
brother.
love of money is the root
Lover. Yeah, the
of
love.
all
Those who love
evil.
it.
So
Yes.
then when you leave your assets, basically what you're leaving can be turned to cash value, money.
Oh.
So then we can see where evil can come into place. I see our guest back on. Oh, well.
Yeah, we'll just allow him to connect and ensure that he can hear us. Chooks, can you confirm he can hear us, sir? Okay, perfect. I'm hoping we can get through this
There's
segment.
just a little bit
I
of
know
poor
he has an
connection.
hour with us. Yes, I know he has an hour with us. So we want to give him an opportunity to take Elam your question, and then of course tell us where we can find him. Hopefully, maybe sometime in the future we're able to do a part two. As we have lost him for quite some time. So Elam, you can come back. You can give him your question, and then we will move from there. Elam,
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question only one more
ask
time,
the
sir.
question, brother. It's the question.
Yes,
How does the laws governing
and I did
different
hear it
states?
before.
You heard it. Okay, Then go
Yes.
ahead and answer.
Yes. Yeah, so I was trying to explain that it depends on the jurisdiction. It's never the same thing across the board. I mean, we have a little bit of similarities in terms of the laws governing, will preparation, especially when it comes to common law jurisdiction. For example, in England, in here, and I'm sure in some of the Caribbean countries, there are requirements that need to be met, right? For example, if a will is written, it must be written and signed in front of two witnesses. Those are primary requirements that exist across the board. And if any of those are missing, the will cannot be probated. I mean, some of the jurisdictions now are giving the courts power to be able to, like, to intervene and say, okay, even though we know that this will does not meet this requirement, we will accept it because we have the power to, because this is the testator had in mind uh, when they did this. So let's make an exception. The courts in Ontario, we got that power before. Before 2 years prior, they didn't have that power to do that. If the will
Mm.
did not meet the requirement of being written and had two witnesses who were present at the same time, it cannot be probated. That means the person would now die without a will, even though they wrote that will with intention of usage after death. But because they did themselves without getting legal advice, now the court would not accept it, which means their estate falls into intestacy. Um,
Oh,
we also
wow.
have situations where, yes, yes, I know it's interesting,
Yes.
that is the case, uh, but this is just only something that happened 2 years ago, that the court was given the power to do that. Prior to that, nothing would have happened. That means that will would have been discarded, right? So, answer your question, it depends on the jurisdiction you find yourself. It depends on where you find yourself. But we have the general ones, that are being that brings us together, that has to be in existence. You know, uh, since COVID, there has been an audit with regards to the possibility of having power of attorneys being done signed electronically, but wills, at least I guess I stand to be correct, wills have not still met that requirement. You can't sign a will using digital, electronically. It still has to be physically signed,
Wow.
and I mean, your lawyer, yeah, your lawyer can send you that document, but go on the video call, see you sign. My office, we don't even do that at all. We just don't want the situation whereby we put any client in that situation of that will being contested. So we always insist that you have to appear before us and sign. But now, at least the law, since COVID has out, the lawyer can courier the documents to you, and then the witnesses, they will be with you over Zoom and sign. But the will itself,
Wow. Thank you so much for that, Chokes. Thank you so much for that. I mean, even amidst the connectivity issue there, of course, we were able to have him come through and share that. And isn't that, I mean, that is so interesting. Rev, never thought about that. I mean, you can do so much stuff online and via Zoom, and making purchase and stuff that you need legality on, like your house and all of that. But he's saying that your your will, you're not able to do these. And I never even know that if you write this paper and put under your bed or under your mattress and said, this is my will, he's saying prior to 2 years ago, the court will not, of course, accept this, and then the court will step in to make their own enforcement. Rev, we grew up and hear about you writing a piece of will and put under your bed, and we put will at the top and write what you want, and we we take it
That's
that
right.
this is your will and so forth. I want to ask Chuck, confirming that you're still able to hear us, sir. You're still able to hear us. No, I think he's still having some trouble, because I wanted to ask, because I'm wondering if there's a difference between the will and they always talk about that final will and testament. Is there a difference between that general will? Uh, 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 you know and that final will, because you always hear these terms
And,
interchangeably, and
and a
sometimes I'm
living
not
will.
sure if it's and a living will, rather. Yeah, that living will, and what's that difference? Because you always hear that, Rev, aren't you? You hear those differences, and so, Rev, you can buy a house and they'll send you the information and you sign it digitally, but they're saying that final will and testament. So you are that final will. You can't wait
Let us
until
come
the,
in
the,
happy. Let us come in happy with those type of will. I've seen a situation where you know, um, you know, person will come. You know, the person died and they have a will, and like, okay, but we have another will. This will was like this, but it was not probated. It was not done through a lawyer. It was just something that was scribbled up, and last minute plan, last minute change. Somebody changed their mind and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to get upset with somebody, so I'm going to kick off somebody off of the will, so forth and so on, right? So people, it becomes messy, you know. And and while we're talking about this, it is important for us to understand this as well. That not because you get upset with somebody, you want to kick them out of the will. Or when you kick them out of the will, you did not get it properly done, but you put it on some paper and says, okay, I know what I had legally, but here I am doing it myself and writing out what I really want now, so forth. But you did not go and get it done. So now upon the you're passing away, whoever you would have given the will to, because sometime like if you sometimes persons will don't want to hurt Johnny feeling. And because I don't want to hurt Johnny feeling, I'm going to make this, sit down with a lawyer and do up this. But my real
yes,
intent is this over here. It
right,
does not work. It
exactly.
does not work like that. Here's Chuck again. Let's
So
see.
so yeah, so Chooks is back.
Yeah.
Of course, Chooks. My final question to you, and I know you have to go. My final question is: there a difference between your final will and testament and a living will?
Mm.
Let me know if you're able to hear me. No.
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
now.
Yeah. Is there a difference between a final will?
I can hear
Yes.
you.
Is there
I
is
can
there a
hear.
difference between a final will and testament and a living will?
Yes. So the final will, obviously, is the will that comes into effect when you're dead. Whereas a living will is what most people now refer to as power of attorney. That's what we
Oh.
use here, for when you are still alive,
Oh.
but you are incapacitated. That's what you find prevalent right here in Canada. Most people use a power of attorney. We have one for personal care and one for property. Okay, and those go into effect when once you're if you're incapacitated, and you still need asset to be taken care of. So that's
Oh.
the main difference between both. I mean, as
Oh.
the name, denotes, living means you're still alive, but you're not able
Right.
to carry out your wishes or do things that you have to do normally by yourself. So now you have people that you designate as your attorney, which can be your wife, your spouse, your son, your daughter, your best friend, people that have your best interest that you trust, to manage your properties while you're incapacitated, and they will give it back to you. Obviously, if you're back, or if you're not, you're indefinitely bedridden. You can't do anything. They will continually be your power of attorney until you are diseased.
Ah, I get you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just said it was my last question, but I must ask you this question on trust. Can you explain the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable
So a revocable trust, a trust that you can revoke, after making it, right? Whereas the irrevocable ones are the ones that you make, and that's it. There's no going back. You've put something in trust, you've created a trust. It's not easily changed, right?
Ah,
So I yes, I see
is
people
there a
who
lot of
try to
hoops that
put
we go
things
through?
in trust. Oh yes, making a trust is a complex process. I mean, you have a simple one, but you have the one that is very complex. That are pitfalls, but you also have to have that information that, like once you find yourself in that murky water of the irrevocable one, you can then decide to, oh, I can change this, in the future. But no, you can't change it in the future because now it becomes permanent, or it becomes uphill to even dissolve it or amend it.
Or Amanda. I understand. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chooks. Thank you for being here with us. Chooks, please tell us where we can find you, where you practice. And so for our audience, especially here, our audience here in Canada, they know exactly where to find you. Give us your contacts. All right, we have lost him there, but we do want to thank him, of course, for being here with us. We want to thank him for sharing such enlightening information, so much stuff, Rev, that we didn't know because you hear so much about will and trust, and I guess everybody add their different pieces to it without the reality of what it is. But again, we want to thank our very special guest, Chooks Oraka, for joining us. And Chooks is from the Abraham's Law Professional Corporation. That's Abraham's Immigration Law. I think they have changed it. I just want to double check that I have the correct information there. So it's Abraham Law Professional Corporation, and this is located in Pickering. So it's 1235 Bailey Street and number 13 in Pickering. He is back here with us. Hopefully he can find us. So of course they are dealing with real estate law and wills and testament and all these stuff that they practice there at. And it's Abraham's at Law. That's Abraham's at Law. Chooks, if you're able to hear us. Are you able to hear us,
Yes, I
Chuck?
am.
Yes. All right. I was
Yes,
plugging your
yes.
information. So give us your information where we can find you, sir.
Yeah, so if you want to find us, we're located in Pickering, and you just go to our website. It's www.abrahams, Abrahams like the Bible, but it has an S at the end, Abrahams, it at law.com. Abraham's
Yes.
ATLAW.com. And
So
I'm sure the
Abraham's
information will
law.
be plugged in somewhere. But
Yes.
yes, and you can call us, set up an appointment, and you can also send us a message through the website, and we get it directly to our message. Our receptionist will get it and respond to it, or give it to anybody who is the designated staff member. We also do real estate law, we do immigration, and we do family law too as well, in a very limited but you can reach us anytime during the weekday, Mondays 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're not on weekends and statutory holidays, but we will be there to answer any questions you may have and help you out with your legal matters. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
having me,
Awesome.
Lincoln, and everybody.
Thank you so
I
much. So like
appreciate
Pastor Clive who
you.
always get himself in trouble, you don't have any defense law there to defend Pastor Clive because he gets himself in trouble from time to time, you know. So
Unfortunately, we don't do as long as it has if it has something to do with real estate and immigration, yes, please, by all means, we'll help you out of your trouble. But when
so you don't
if it's a litigation, we don't do litigation, unfortunately. So, but I have colleagues who do litigation, and I
do
can always
litigation.
yes, correct.
So when he
I
gets
can
anything
connect him to
frustrated
that.
here, we'll know where to find him so he can of course get these rectified.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all folks for having me, and thank you so much. Thank you. Bye
Brian,
bye.
you're muted. You're muted.
Thank you so much.
Not hearing you, Doc.
You're muted, Doc.
Sure why this thing keep kicking me to mute, but thank you so much again, Jokes, for being with us. Thank you for staying with us here on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast. Again, we We really, really appreciate him and appreciate his time. I know we had some connectivity issue there, but I trust that we were able to bring some information to you. And should it allow, we will try to, of course, do a part two so we can get the information over to you. But Rev,
Yes.
great, insightful discussion today for
Yeah,
us
yeah,
on
very,
screen.
very, very, very insightful.
Let's chop it up.
You know, I'm there thinking about, we were talking about, so it's not, you don't have to wait to have $1 million to put a will together.
Mhm.
Um, but we need to start to think of, your children future, as the Bible has said, a good man leave an inheritance to his
Yes.
children, and breaking the generational curse, breaking the cycle of poverty. God now buy any more land, now making any more land. So if we buy whatever we can buy now, and you don't have to start big. You can start small.
Mhm.
Buy something. A few years ago, I went somewhere, and this place was in a desert place where the thing, when I went there and I look at the place, and I says to my wife, I says, babe, I feel within myself that this is the place for us to have like a little vacation house. And she said, but it's so far. It's like almost 6 hours away from us. So I says, you know what? We're going to be doing a job here, and we need somewhere to rent. But we can't find nowhere to rent. But there's a place available for sale. And I managed to buy the house, Rev, and buying the house, my she has never seen it. I don't know whose wife does this. Like your husband just buy things and they haven't seen it. And I bought the property, and after buying the property,
You
you
see
know,
why we need the lawyer on his side? Yes, because
yeah,
he get himself in trouble all the time, Elamir.
yeah.
But
About
it's
the
all
property, but the point I'm making is this: is that it's when you see that you're trying to do something and you're trying to get headways, and this is
Mhm.
you creating, and it wasn't a big amount of money for the thing. So what I'm trying to say is start small, start with a
Yes.
little bit and pieces and put stuff together. Back to what I was saying about my children. I started save when it was just $100 and something for all four of them until I bump it and I can afford, to bring it up. No, it started at $60 actually. And they were like babies. And then it moved to 100 and something. I double it. And as I gradually, can afford, it reached from 60 to I think it went up to 300 and something dollars. And that's what I put away for their college funds, so forth and so on. So you're trying to generate generational wealth. And you may say, you know what, I don't have the money. Is that one day at McDonald's, is that one day at Tim Hortons? Is that, if you think about it, is that if you got Tim Hortons, Rev, you're the account, you're the money
And for
person.
those who are outside of Canada, that's a coffee shop.
That's a
So
coffee shop.
yeah, if you go to a coffee shop every time or
So
stop at your Starbucks store to get your
nothing wrong
coffee.
going to a coffee shop, right?
Yes.
But if you're thinking you want to break some things, I look at it like this: that if I, because every day I used to just go and buy something at the store, fast food. Then I started change that cycle and says, if I'm spending $20-$40 at a coffee shop, and it's $20-$40 a day, when you do the math for the month, let's just do a quick math. Let's say even $20, and it times up by 5 days a week. That's $100. That's $400 for the month. That's my grocery bill. You see what I'm saying? Or you can use that $500 or 200 out of it and put away something for your children. Then you can now start to plan how you're gonna leave something. And this, I'm talking to persons who say, I don't have anything,
Mhm. Yeah,
but you have
because sometimes the reality is, and tell me, sometimes the reality is you have certain furnitures. You may be renting, but you have some good furnitures. You have clothes there. You have a little bike, because you have people who fight over will, over just
Yeah,
simple things. You have
yeah,
jewelry for those who wear jewelry, and I think I need to have this, and mom left this for me. So it don't even matter what it is, especially when you have grown children. I'm telling you, fight will happen on all these things over, and we have seen where families, lives are destroyed because there's not a will and somebody died and left something simple. Elamir, he said something, and I want to get your takeaway too from it. One other thing that blew my mind is that all these years, if when we always hear, you write your little will and put under your mattress, or write your little will and put somewhere, and he's saying before that, just in the last 2 years, that the court have now made a decision to say, if you were putting a will in play and you died before the will is executed, then the court will honor the will. Before that, the court will step in then as the testator, take over the whole thing, and of course, with the whole parties involved, they decide what happened to your will. So some of these no good children that you have, that just never come around and gone about their business and never even look at you, you're telling me now they get an opportunity to fight for what I have, and the court just make a decision that, listen, five of you, we're going to split it in five. You know what I mean? And that one or two who stick around and who take care of you, who do all of this, basically share the same, and sometimes not much. So that really, that was a key takeaway for me, because I never even know that, and that we cannot even sign our will digitally. You buy a house and they send it
yeah,
to you and call you and Zoom to see that it's you who's signing it, and he's saying
yeah.
we don't even want to do that. Ella Muir, your takeaway on the discussion.
I know. I think it's a very important thing to note because it, when you think about it, he also said that there has to be two witnesses present.
Yes,
So I believe that if the two witnesses are present, there's no way they're going to accept, or they will not accept that signature online. You have to be there. It's
yes,
serious business. And
absolutely.
because of the experiences that they have, seeing persons coming in and things happening,
Over
they are
the
not playing. Yes, they
No,
are not playing when it comes on to this. And something that jumped out at me also is that we need to know what our different areas, the laws in our provinces, in our
yes,
states, in our country,
yes,
we need to know these as well. And I am still a little bit skeptical about what you just said and what he said also, because skeptical in the sense that I would not want to leave it to chance then.
mm-mm.
Even though he says there has been a shift, I would not want to leave something like that to chance, because you are running a risk with others just coming in and taking things that you had intended to be for a particular person or persons. And so I believe, yes, it was a very interesting conversation. I too have learned a lot, and gone are the days where the pillow underneath the pillow
And the
will would,
mattress, yes, and in
yes.
that drawer somewhere where everybody have to break down the entire house after you die, just
So
to see if you find something.
we're
yeah,
saying it doesn't work like that. Not in today's society. We have to be
Yes,
in tune with the law, and we should do things according to the law. It might cost you a little. And as I said before, I realized that he laughed when he mentioned the money,
yes, because it
the
costs.
legal
Yes,
cost.
the legal
But
cost.
in comparison to what will go wrong after, it is worth it. Whatever
Yes,
it is worth doing
because
it.
the reality, when I was placed in the situation, and I think we were in the tune of about, I want about $250 to $300 per letter. We
Wow.
had to pay about 250 to
Wow.
300 per letter. And when I went there, her husband had given me the right or the permission to bury her. And so from that funeral home legal perspective, I was able to make decisions based on the fact that he granted that. Um, Also, part of the thing that we don't even know as a law in Canada, if her husband is present and still alive as the next of kin, you cannot make certain decision as it relates to her funeral without him. So he
mm,
can hold up the funeral and say, no, We're not burying her until this can change the whole thing. And so when it come to even he buy a car, she's dead, and we went to Service Canada, Service Ontario to change the name because it was coming up now time to register. And they said, no, you need, is there a will? We said, no, here's the death certificate, everything. She said, no, we need a letter from a lawyer confirming all of this, confirming she only have one child, as you said, and the child is 4 years old, cannot contest anything. All of that stuff in a rev before we put her in a will. So now if you have a son who is 18 or a
Wow.
daughter, wherever, who is at that age, just said they want the vehicle, you know that you're in a contest with your child over
All
the
right,
vehicle.
doctor. Stick a pin right there. What about an
Yes.
uncle or auntie or cousin? Based on your knowledge, can they come in and also claim right to
Well,
that estate?
sisters and siblings and so forth, they can, because especially if they were close, they can come in and start to create some issues there. They mostly start, as I see it, with your immediate, like your children, your and parents too. If your parents are alive, so they mostly start with your spouse, your children, parents before they start to go external. And I guess it all depends to on what your status was in terms of monetary gain. Because everybody will say, "Uncle said I was supposed to get it," because
Yeah.
if it's my nephew who passed, I can say that was I got it for him, or he already told me this, that as he mentioned, and then they can. And as he said, you start to contest this. It can draw out in court if you put a lawyer in place. This, that, certain proof, certain this. And I'm talking about, Rev, a husband to a wife. We're not talking about because I think a lot of us just automatically believe because you are the spouse, automatically you get things. And if there's not a will in place, I learned that here in Canada, here in Ontario, I learned that is not the case. Not because you are the spouse just mean automatically things come that, because if she have her own vehicle and it was in her name, if she have certain things as it was in her name, then I'm telling you, you're going to have a lot of issue. And as I said, good thing she bank with the bank that I work, and so I was able to pull up little some strings at the top, go through estate, we provide all the legal documentation, etc. I provide stuff showing them that I'm responsible for her funeral and all of this stuff, and they validate, they verify
I
me
don't,
within the system and assist. But it was a whole lot of hoop, Rev,
I
and
don't, I don't,
chicks
I
help
don't
us out a
like.
lot.
Sorry, I don't like that pull string word. Coming
Well,
from
you know
Jamaica.
what? Well, let me say what it is. I had to make some connections from the top to somewhat get past the smaller guys who would kind of give me a harder time, go up to management, and management would have assisted me based on our situation. Chooks was there to assist us, getting us some letters and everything. And thank God, because they manage all my stuff from real estate, from my house to everything. That's my law firm that I use. So I have a that's our lawyer that we retain, and my wife and I are clients with them, and so they manage all my legal affairs. And so it's a good thing I had that relationship with them also, that they could step in and assist me in this case. So it was quite tough. It was quite a challenge, and I didn't expect it. So we're saying put these things in play.
That's right.
Very, very important. Rev, your final words, sir.
Um, you know, it was good. It was really very good, very informative. I think we should do more of the stuff like this, and I wish have more persons were here.
Yes.
I know that we keep shying away from these things, but death is a must. It's gonna happen. It's not if you're gonna die, is when.
Yes. So we run away from it because a lot of time we have the myth to say, if I put it in place, Elder Muir, then I am going to die if I put it in place. But we're saying put it in place so when you die, as he mentioned, that you will speak from the grave. Final will from you, Elder Muir, before we put a wrap.
Word, that is.
Final word. We're talking about so much will, huh? My God.
That's right.
Final
That's right.
word.
I find a problem with persons that even sometimes you're having discussion and they try to shut you down. I don't like that. I need for my voice to be heard. And I
Yes.
believe that this approach, even in death, your voice will be heard.
Look at that. Look at that. Powerful. You see how him smooth that across, Pastor Clive? Playing all smooth. Huh? We see you, Elamir. We catch that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for staying with us here on the Iron Empowerment Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on Will Planning and Estate with Chuck Araka, our special guest. We really do hope that it was empowering. We hope that you find this discussion insightful, and the expertise that shared today and the information that you have received. We hope that it was empowering, that will help you to begin the process, to start you on the journey of putting these in place for you and your family. And so, of course, that your will and testament can speak from the grave. Remember, estate planning is not just for the wealthy or the elderly. It is for anyone who wants to ensure that their wishes are respected and their loved ones are protected. Take control of your legacy and start planning today. Don't leave your future to chance. Thanks again to our special guest for joining us. Thanks again to our co-host. And I really want to thank him, of course, for sharing his expertise. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this important discussion. Remember, if you're not yet liked, share, or subscribe, please do so. Please go to our Higher Ground Gospel Radio app, download it. You can find us on hggradio.ca. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and HGG Radio. Thank you so much for staying with us. Remember, it's here on the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, where we not just talk, but we're informative. We love you for listening. Until next week, take care. Join us for the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, where we discuss matters close to the heart. This and every Saturday at 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on HGG Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, alongside your co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopeton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir. The Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. We're not just talk, we're informative.
Just want to thank you one more time for joining us right here on AGG Radio. And of course, with our Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. Stick and stay with us here on HGG Radio. Coming up at 10 o'clock, we make way for Auntie Renee with the children, with the youth.
I lift my eyes to the Maker. What a mighty God is there.
Of course, she will be with you for a few hours. Just stick and stay with Auntie Renee.
The way to go, you beat my needs.
The local time here is 9:35. That's 25 minutes before the top of the hour, which is 10 o'clock local time here in Edmonton, Alberta. Thank you again for sticking and staying with us. This is where I say goodbye on Facebook and YouTube. Please, if you have not downloaded the app as yet, please go ahead and do so. Please download the mobile app so you can still listen to us while we're not on this side. All right? God bless you. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, in the mighty name of Jesus.
When I wake up in the